Hey everyone, Brenden here, and welcome to our second episode of Gaming Details. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at a few of the Star Wars games. Star Wars has been around for 43 years now, and in that time, plenty of games have been developed for the franchise. Today, we'll be taking a look through a few of those games and highlighting some really cool details. Before we get started, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who watched our first episode of Gaming Details. A lot of you seemed to enjoy it, and we loved reading your comments and suggestions for which games to cover in the series. This also brings me to announcing the winner of the giveaway for the last episode. The winner is YouTube user Sorello. Thank you all for the comments, now let's get into the details. The first detail we're going to be looking at is in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. In the game, while playing as Darth Vader, you can use Force Choke on any character except Padme, who is of course Anakin's wife. Kind of ironic if you think about it, because he didn't have a problem using it on her in Episode 3. Our second detail is in Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order. When you're holding your single-bladed lightsaber, it illuminates your surroundings with a fairly bright glow. However, once you take out your double-bladed lightsaber, the illumination is even brighter because instead of one light source, there is now two. This is shown in shows like the Clone Wars, but at the time this game was released, we had hardly ever seen it in any of the movies. Speaking of lightsabers, let's talk about Battlefront 2. In this game, you have heroes from all different eras of Star Wars, and lightsabers have different characteristics for each of those eras. Here are 3 heroes' lightsabers from the prequels, original trilogy, and the sequels. Notice that in the original trilogy, the lightsaber is pale blue with a rounded tip. Now the prequel blades are a much deeper shade of blue and have a sharp angled tip. Finally, the sequel sabers are back to a pale blue with an even sharper angled tip. It would have been easy to just make the lightsabers all look the same, but DICE really went the extra mile with this one. In Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy, you might not have noticed that when it rains, steam will come off of your lightsaber. This would be because that the lightsaber is so hot that when the rain droplets come into contact with it, they instantly turn into vapor. It doesn't rain a lot, but when it does, it adds a nice level of immersion for such a small part in the game. Pretty impressive for a game from 2003. In Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, when you use the Force to pick up enemies, they will grab onto railings to hold onto. I feel like this adds a bit of humanity to the AIs because clearly someone would try to grab onto anything they could if they were about to be thrown around by the Force. Back to LEGO Star Wars, on Episode 5, Chapter 3, you can fly into the space slug's mouth, and as you travel further down into its stomach, you will see what looks like random LEGO pieces. However, they are actually scooters from LEGO's classic Space Line, which came out in 1979. The Space Line initially had nothing to do with Star Wars, however, since this is a LEGO game after all, the developers decided to pay homage to the classic LEGO sets. In the Star Wars universe, the clones are all based off of the bounty hunter Jango Fett. He's not a hero in Battlefront 2, but if you select the clone officer and choose a skin that is not wearing a helmet, you can see they modeled the clone after Temuera Morrison, the actor who played him in Episode 2. Even though he doesn't have an essential role as a hero, it's still nice to see his face show up in the game. If you've played LEGO Star Wars before, you know that in the main hub area, the Cantina Band will be playing their classic song. But did you know that if you press start, go to options, and disable the in-game music, the Cantina Band stands around looking confused rather than playing their instruments? Back again to Battlefront 2, in the map Takodana, on the outside of Maz Castle you can see the Millennium Falcon. You might not have noticed that it has the exact same damage mark from Episode 7 when Rey and Finn were escaping Jakku. For our last detail, we are going to be taking another look at Jedi: The Fallen Order. Before we get into the detail, I want to warn everyone that this is a huge spoiler. If you haven't beaten the game yet and still want to, skip to this part in the video. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we are looking at the last scene in the game where Darth Vader is chasing you. There is really nothing you can do to even phase him, but BD-1 uses his electricity to shock him and that freezes up his body. In the Star Wars lore, it's canon that Emperor Palpatine created his suit, and specifically made it weak to electricity so that he could take Vader out if he decided to turn on him. That's all we have time for today. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe and make sure to hit that bell to be notified when the next episode comes out. What game or game series should we do next? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one.